It's time for New Wellness TV with Dr. Lee. Join your host, the accomplished Dr. Cherilyn Lee, as she welcomes the leading experts in health and well-being as they explore the advancements in natural health, physical fitness, nutrition, integrative medicine, and self-discovery.
Good day, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another wonderful show. I'm always excited, and even more so today, because this is a very dear friend for many, many years. And her journey has been one that I'm so happy that she took the time to put it into a book. And not only that, we all go through struggles and ups and downs, and as you know, the title of our show is Treatable and Beatable, Healing Cancer Without Surgery. So the one and only Carolyn Gross. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Dr. Lee.
Where's our people applauding? Where is our audience? I don't hear them. Okay.
Yeah.
There they are. Listen.
They're here.
Okay, they're all excited. Thank you.
We're starting Breast Health Awareness Month.
Yes. And I just want to thank you so much for this being here, because of what you have accomplished and what you have done. And you've been able to share your story in so many platforms. And now you're here with me to share your story.
I am.
And I just thank you for being here on New Wellness TV, radio, where all these millions of people are listening to you. What a blessing.
Thank you.
And I know you're going to be a blessing to so many people that are listening to your journey. So we're going to kind of jump right in.
Okay.
Okay, Carolyn Gross, tell me a little bit more about yourself.
Well, I did come from a bit of a natural healing family, so I had it in my roots. My great-grandmother was a Christian Science practitioner, so as I was being raised, if I had a cold or the flu, my mother would not call the doctor. She would get vitamin C, chicken soup, and a hot bath.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And do you know the name Adele Davis?
Oh, yes,
she was
I know.
one of the early pioneers of advocating that we take vitamins and these natural health. So I had that in my roots. And when I eventually started to develop my talents as a health person, I started as a masseuse in cranial sacral therapy.
Okay.
And was attempting to learn life balance because I was a pretty ambitious young, girl that wanted to set the world on fire. Can you relate to that?
Oh, yes, I can. My journey was a little bit slower, though, but yes.
So it's like great to set the world on fire, and then you have to figure out how to restore yourself.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So when I started in my path of wellness as a cranial sacral therapist, I eventually started to identify internal versus external chaos and wrote a book called Staying Calm in the Midst of Chaos.
Yes.
And that came from my health and my healing energy in my hands and working with the cranial rhythm, identifying internal chaos. Are you ready for my mantra that I had with my clientele back in the 90s?
Yeah, I want to hear it. Go right ahead.
So like you attract certain types of clientele, and I would often get TMJ, I'd get disc problems, and they would come and have adjustments, and sometimes they would go to the doctor and they would have surgeries like jaw scraping or fused discs. And then I would notice they'd be gone for maybe 3 to 6 months, and then they'd be back to see me.
Right.
I thought, well, didn't we medically take care of this? So my mantra in the 90s was make surgery your last resort. It could be a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
I love that. Say that again.
Make surgery your last resort. It could be a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Yes. And I've seen that happen.
Right? So that doesn't mean surgery's not good. It just isn't like don't necessarily run there.
There's some people that are listening right now that are so sorry they had a knee replacement, hip replacement, and all these different surgeries. They are so sorry they did that. And there's a lot of people who did, and they're happy about it.
Right.
They're happy. So, we know one treatment plan that don't fit everyone in the first
That's
place.
right. That's right.
That's one reason why I tell people, please meditate and pray over things that you do. Even before you see a practitioner,
Right.
even myself, I tell people to meditate and pray because that might not be the person for you.
Right.
And then if you feel uncomfortable in any way, or you don't like the person, or you don't like the color of their hair, or you don't like the color of something about them you don't like, you're going to let that interfere with your healing process.
You and I are so on the same page because I was going to talk about that. Because that's that biofield.
Yes.
You know, because that biofield, when I get further into my story, I'll go further there. But I just wanted to put a little exclamation point
Yes.
on what you're saying, because boy, do I
Yes.
live in that city that you
Yes.
just mentioned. So
So,
I finally
go ahead.
write this book, you know, from the 13 years as a cranial sacral therapist. And,
Right.
and the book I wrote in 2000, Staying Calm in the Midst of Chaos,
Yes.
was ready to go out into the world, and then came the events of September 11th. So I finished the book after September 11.
And that was what year?
I finished the book in 2002,
Okay. Okay.
and I toured it from 2002 to 2003. And the reason, so I have only a little button from the Create Calm campaign, from
Oh,
Staying
it's
Calm
so
in the Midst
beautiful.
of Chaos.
Yes.
Da, 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 da. But what happened was I was, you know, like you and I, we get to take a message we believe in, and the world wants to hear it. That's a lucky person, you know.
It is. It really is.
So here I have this book, and the world now wants to hear it because after September 11th, people were just getting an idea of maybe going after money, power, and prestige isn't all that life's about. And after
Right.
all, we were crippled at, you know, the financial level of
Right.
the Twin Towers. So, you know.
Yeah.
So as I went on that tour, it was at City 24 in an 18-month period that I got tired, and that is when I suspected something wasn't quite right with my body.
Yeah.
And you know how we'll mentally question ourselves. So at that point, I'm like, well, maybe I'm not cut out for this touring.
And it's good you're saying that because a lot of people don't mentally question their body until it's later. They kind of say, oh, no, that isn't it. And then they just let it linger and go on until it really flusters into something else. So I'm so glad that you're saying this. When you have a little symptom, you question what's going on.
Right.
Because there are things under the heading of silent killers,
Good.
you know, that you don't have symptoms. But when you have something,
Yes.
your body will tell you. It
Right.
could be ever so subtle. So what
Right.
was your subtle?
My only symptom of cancer was fatigue. But I was on a 24-city book tour
Okay.
in an 18-month period. So basically, never thinking that it could be an illness, I just thought, oh, I'm not cut out for life on the road.
Yes.
Touring and speaking all over the country, you know, week after month after year. You know,
but
it's
that would make you fatigue, though.
well, exactly. So when I found the lump in my breast, and that was 2003, the diagnosis upon my own discovery, and I like to mention here, I was getting annual mammograms.
Okay.
I was getting annual mammograms because both of my bloodlines, both of my grandmothers had breast cancer, and they both had it in their 70s and 60s.
Okay.
I'm just a young 40s-something girl.
40s. Oh, my
Yeah.
goodness. Was it, the relatives, was it bilateral, both breasts, or
No, just
the right?
just the left breast,
Left,
the
okay.
nurturing, and then infiltrating ductal carcinoma
Okay.
was the actual diagnosis.
And that was both.
Infiltrating
Relative.
on the one on the left breast, yeah.
Okay.
So when I was diagnosed, so again, everything's a surprise here because why is it a surprise? I'm already in the natural health field.
Right.
So I already don't eat sugar, wheat, and flour. I don't drink or drug. I meditate. I pray. I heal others. I'm
Yeah.
like- no, I don't heal others. I help
Them.
in the
Yes,
assistance
journey.
of creating the biofield of healing for others. And so I was just really stage 3. But
Stage 3?
yeah, stage 3.
My.
In 2003, stage 3, double threes there.
Mm.
So the thing that was a little daunting was when the doctors looked at me and said, "You have no option." That was the first words out of their mouth.
Of course.
You have no option but a complete mastectomy with full courses of chemotherapy and radiation.
Exactly.
And that whole there's no option, I was like, really? I didn't do anything wrong. What occurred to me, two things occurred to me, and this is all in the diagnosis. You've just been diagnosed.
Yes, and that's what happens when you walk.
These are the two things that occur to me. First of all, I'm like, I've never done more excellent work in my life than I've done in these last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Cancer must be good for me. I'm empowered right now. So I came in to my diagnosis with an empowered stance. I said, I've been doing some good stuff right now. I don't feel like going into a victim mode. And then second of all, how dare you threaten me with no options? I've had annual mammograms and I have to find my own lump?
Yes.
You're the one who made a mistake. Not me.
Exactly. So
I call that step claiming your power, which is the first chapter of the book, Treatable and Beatable.
Mm-hmm. Claiming your own power. And that's why they tell women, self-breast exams. I like, other methods of examining breasts.
Correct.
Because of all of the research that we know now.
Right. Thermography. I love it.
We do the thermography, and we have one a little bit different than just a routine thermography. It's called the CRT.
Okay.
And the CRT actually is contact reflex thermographic.
Okay.
So it allows me to go through the body from the top of the head, actually through the sinuses, all the way to the pelvic.
Wow.
FDA approved for ruling out breast cancer or breast screening.
Okay.
More breast screening. But it's amazing because of the fact that what's happening now, and I want to just kind of have a sidebar for a second.
Sure.
Today, October 3rd, the first day and the first initiation of Inflammatory Breast Cancer Awareness Day. The bill was passed this year. I was in Sacramento when they passed the bill for inflammatory breast cancer awareness. My dear friend Jocelyn Earl has been a guest on my show, and we have spoke about inflammatory breast cancer. When I met her, that was her thing, but we said we should have a day. We do not have a day. So her nonprofit worked on it, and after I told her, and
I love it.
her nonprofit is Fighting for the Ta-tas.
Fighting for the ta-tas.
Ta-tas, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll fight for the ta-tas, darling.
Yes. And so,
Nice.
and then finding that 41% of the inflammatory are men. So you're not going to find inflammatory because there's no lumps. There's no lumps with inflammatory. It's a very aggressive form of cancer, extremely aggressive. So,
I know.
and so I'm so happy that we do have, as of today, October 3rd, is Inflammatory Breast Cancer Awareness Day. So she's having a big event. I won't be in town for it because I'll be in the Bahamas speaking
All right.
this weekend.
Yay.
But a big event that's coming up.
That's
but I just want to
fantastic.
kind of throw that in because I am working with her on that committee as well. But for them to pass a bill,
Absolutely.
for awareness, and I don't know how much awareness is still going on with it, but at least we're going to do another show on inflammatory.
You've talked to me about it before because that's been coming for a little while because you talked to me about it before at one of our other meetings.
Yes.
So that's fabulous. Thank
so
you.
I want to, say, because today is October 3rd, and it's so powerful. And your journey here is equally, and I tell people, everything has a name, and they try to say that, once you have it, this is it. But now they have more treatments for it. But we're going to talk about yours and your treatment. And I want to get back to finding your mass.
Good. And so here I am, and I'm told I have no option but a complete mastectomy. And then I go within myself, more or less from that Staying Calm book that I had just written and toured, and said, now wait a minute, this is external chaos coming at me, a cancer diagnosis, and if I manage my internal chaos the way I'm reacting to it well, then I can make informed decisions. In other words, claiming my power. So when the doctor wouldn't negotiate it all with me on the treatment,
give me chills.
Right? Could I have a little chemo first and maybe a lumpectomy? I'm in my 40s and my ta-tas are kind of cute and I like them. I don't want to lose them. You know?
Yeah.
And just from that standpoint of, well, could we negotiate a little? When I got the absolute, now he came in at a fear vibration and said,
Oh, yes.
and when he went to scare me, that was when I knew it looks like I'm going to have to go somewhere else. Not knowing where would I go? You and I both believe in, as you said, meditate and pray before you go see a practitioner. So when I did leave that office that day, I went home and I did what I believe every woman does that's diagnosed, and I took my top off and looked in the mirror and tried to imagine one gone, or of course a lot of women have bilateral, both of them gone. And just in that process of trying to visualize, I had a still small voice say, "It's not time to lose your breast."
Oh, that's wonderful. Listen to that voice. Listen to that inner voice. If you had not listened, you would have had a mastectomy by now.
So I did get other second opinions. Everybody wanted to take the breast off. And then I went to the top 3 ministers in my circle of influence. And that first minister that I called had just come from Tijuana, where her eye had been spared because Dr. Rubio of Rubio Cancer Center had reversed her tumor using her own immune system.
Yes.
So, as I like to say, I called a minister for prayer. She never prayed for me. She answered my prayer over the phone.
Oh, what a blessing. What a blessing. And that's having the faith. Trust, believe, and have the faith.
Yeah.
You would not have asked. Some people ask questions and they ask for things, and they just don't think they're going to happen. Or if it does happen, it's like, oh, it's going to take months. I don't know if it's going to work. And they have so much doubt. So if you pray for something, you must believe it's going to happen.
Yeah.
You must believe it's going to happen. I wouldn't be here today myself. You know my journey. I'm not going to get into mine today. But we have to have the faith.
Well, the other thing was I had that mantra. I had that mantra from my cranial sacral work, make surgery your last resort.
Powerful.
It could be a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Essentially, when I got that idea that it wasn't time to lose my breast, it was my mantra coming to me, but in a different, shorter form, because that's a crisis moment. And when we're in crisis, we need really simple messages that can be assimilated.
Yes.
So all I did was go down to for a consultation, and out of 3 doctors telling me I had to have the breast removed, and they would grab it and they'd say, "This has to come off," and they would hand gesture like they were taking it off, and I'd be like, no. Yes. And then there's Dr. Rubio, and he grabs the breast, he goes, "I think we can save it," and he almost shook it like, "Nice to meet you, breast. Nice to meet you. We'll try to keep you hanging around, hanging around.
Hanging around. Okay, not drooping around, but hanging. Okay. But that's how you have to have humor. And to have the humor and the laughter, you release healing endorphins in the body, which is so powerful as well.
Yeah.
So, I've met him, and he has such a wonderful, warm presence about him. It's a doctor you can go to that you feel like, I'm going to be helped. I'm sure that everybody know that today was going to be a special day, so please forgive that little noise. It was that time.
I didn't do it.
Gee, I thought my phone was off.
It's okay.
But anyway, I just want to say that I'm so glad. So go ahead with the story.
So what happened was Dr. Rubio, when he shook my breast and said, "I think we can keep it," he explained to me he was working with the targeted T-cell treatment in the patient's own immune system to recognize and destroy cancer. And so his approach was going to be that I would have low doses of chemotherapy and radiation, pre-testing if the chemo was effective. If the chemo wasn't effective, then you wouldn't use it. But if the chemo tested effective against the antigens in the blood, then I would have low dose 10% chemo, 10% radiation. But the primary signature treatment that I had 15 years ago that saved my life was this immunotherapy and the targeted T-cell therapy.
Exactly. And so tell our audience a little bit more about the T-cell.
Okay.
targeted.
So
therapy.
when this happened in my life, when this intersected in my life in 2003, and when I started writing the book, you weren't hearing anything in the media about immunotherapy, and you weren't hearing
No.
anything about biogenetic.
No.
You were hearing about the big three: chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery. So when I started to understand how the vaccines worked, I had to really understand it because nobody knew what I was talking about.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the vaccines, and I also, before I explain my treatment, I want to just say that they are now coming out in the United States. They're in trials.
Oh, I
and
know.
the-
I know some hospitals or some doctors doing this.
Perfect.
Now.
In Southern California, and then across the country as well. So the good news for me is now people at least have heard a little bit about it.
Yes.
But back in 2003, as he explained to me, he was going to take the T cells in a blood draw, take the cancer cells or antigens from the cancer tumor, and in a second blood draw, put them together in a Petri dish, and then weaken the coating, the protein coating on the cancer cell, which is why these cells are allowed to prosper
Yes.
and proliferate. They are a wily invader. Cancer is a wily invader. So once you weaken that coating and then expose it to a T cell or an NK cell, natural killer cell of the front line of the immune system, all that those T cells and the natural killer cells do is what they were programmed by the Creator to do, and that is get rid of foreign
Yes.
invaders. So
Yes.
I call cancer the invader.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
call immunotherapy the Star Wars approach to cancer treatment because you're awakening the force within.
Yes, you are.
You're awakening the immune system. That's the force
Now,
within.
what is the difference in this, so our audience will understand?
Sure.
In stem cell.
Okay. So stem cells are builder cells. So a vaccine is going to be a cell that will destroy the invader cell. If a cancer tumor has presented in an organ that has to function regularly, sustain metabolic function, and it's being compromised, so lung cancer, the person can't breathe, stem cells going to go in and rebuild the compromised lung.
Yes.
The liver, if the cancer's in the liver, liver never stops working. It's a 24-hour chemical factory, right?
Exactly.
So it has no breaks. But so if it gets weakened, we can't afford that for the health of the patient. So the stem cells are the builder cells. So they assist with any damage that the invader cells have done. So here I had these vaccines. At the time, he made 5 vaccines. Actually, he made 4, and then dendritic cell, which is now the very common, well-known vaccine for cancer. The dendritic cell came in 2004. So I did start my original treatment with 4 different vaccines, and then with the low-dose chemotherapy and radiation, my healing took about 9 months. So
But you didn't have the awful side effects during that time.
Correct. So I didn't lose my hair. I, of course, didn't lose my breast. I didn't have lymphedema.
And that's horrible. It's like no turnaround with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, I'll do a sidebar now. There was a nurse that came to one of the events that I put on that you spoke at because you're such a fabulous speaker. So
Thank you.
Your Health
Thank
is Your
you.
Wealth event we did, and
Yes.
you were there. And this nurse had come to the event, and I ran into her just a couple of weeks ago at a restaurant, and all of a sudden, I mean, it was almost like, do I have a sign on my head that says, tell me your cancer story? You're going to find out soon enough that I went from being a cancer survivor to becoming a patient advocate.
Yes.
So I turned cancer into a new career.
Yes.
So anyway, this woman who's a nurse tells me her cancer story in this restaurant, and it was just like 3 surgeries, lymphedema, a sleeve for 3 years, wigs, and it was like just I wanted to almost scream out inside, how could you withstand all that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The thing is, women are strong.
Yes.
And
we
women
are.
do withstand this, you know. So, of course, she did. And I think when she heard a story like mine, she was like, maybe I wish I had done a few things differently. Not like she hadn't had surgery.
Right,
but
exactly.
I know she didn't want lymphedema, though.
No.
Okay. So maybe she didn't mind that she missed or had a rebuild or whatever. But that might not have been a big deal. But lymphedema, give me a break.
No, you
That's
start removing
crippling.
those lymph nodes. You just don't want to tamper into that.
Yeah.
But usually when they say, the cancer spread is into the lymphatic system or the lymph nodes,
Right.
then, they want to go ahead and remove them so it doesn't go any further. That's kind of the theory for
But
that.
this is why immunotherapy is so powerful.
Exactly.
Because, remember, I have to make everything simple for the newly diagnosed. So I like to say, why is the answer to cancer in the blood? Because the blood goes everywhere. So if the cells have strayed from the site, in my case, breast, but if they've strayed from the liver, the colon, the brain, the lung, in immunotherapy, once you activate those T cells, they're going to go wherever
Those cells
the invaders are.
Exactly.
And we don't have
And
to sit
attack
here and get
them.
all worried. Oh, my God, it's metastasized to the bone. Oh, my God.
Exactly.
Because that hysteria is the reason that I spent 2 years writing Treatable and Beatable. Because I think, Dr. Lee, the thing that bothered me more than the cancer was all the stigma. The stigma was, once you had cancer, are you in remission? I'm like, am I in remission? That sounds like now there's this umbrella over my life called cancer. And for the
Yes.
rest of my life, I have to look up at it as if it's a deity and go, am I okay? Am I okay? And I'm like, I don't want remission.
No,
I want
no.
free and clear.
Exactly. And I just want to say, because I've had many of your books in my office, Treatable and Beatable, Healing Cancer Without Surgery. And patients have sat there, because I do the IV therapies.
Right. Yeah.
And they have sat there and read the book and just totally turned their life around right then.
Wow.
I never had a chance to share that with you. Just really, they said, I have a new outlook on this now.
Oh, wonderful.
I have such a new outlook. So I'm just saying, you have touched so many lives that people you don't even know.
Aw.
Because they were able to take that and share it with other people as well.
Aw.
And your stories on your YouTube channel is just so warm and healing. And a person sees someone, because I've had people call me and the doctor said do this, and by me doing the frontline test in my office
Yes.
and
Perfect.
finding it right away, I don't have to wait for them to send back the other results. I find it right away, and we start acting on it right away. But for a person to first hear that, like within an hour walking in my office and didn't know that, if I pull this out and say, look, you got to look at this here.
Claim your power.
Definitely claim your power.
Yeah.
Don't become a self-fulfilled prophecy neither.
Right.
Don't let someone tell you that you have 3 months, a month to live. Don't let anyone do that. Only God knows that. A doctor does not know that.
So we're going to swing somewhere else now, because the message so far sounds so like motivational, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in Treatable and Beatable, it and is motivational.
Mm-hmm.
However, the whole middle of the book is on the emotional reconfiguration that's necessary in a patient.
Mm-hmm.
And chapters like learning to fall, quelling the emotional storms, anger is one letter from danger. That was the biggest part of my healing when those T cells were killing the invader cells.
Yes.
So it wasn't easy breezy. I never want to make it sound like, oh, I turned cancer into career, la-ti-da. It's like,
No.
oh, yeah, I went into the trench
Yes.
and said, what
keep
is this
it real
disease?
and transparent. Thank you for that.
What is this disease really trying to teach me?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And there was some anger that was dangerous for me that was still in my body. And you know how we train for natural health and all that? And I thought, you're kidding me. After doing all this somato-emotional release and all this
yes.
stuff, I'm still like,
I'm holding on to something here.
unresolved manushka.
Yes. Yes.
And so this is where I invite people to let cancer be the guide of a new path and purpose.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So anyway,
And to look so healthy, and your skin is absolutely beautiful. A lot of people, they tend to, I just want to kind of diverse for a second, because people will do what you did, and then they'll go back to what got them in trouble in the first place. When we talk about diet, the sugar,
let's talk about
the
that.
sugar, the gluten foods, the meat, the hormone-based meats, the high estrogen-based foods, they go back.
Yeah.
And they say, you went through a treatment, you know,
Yes.
and treatments are great. I mean, they have wonderful treatment. The one that they're doing at the Rubio Clinic, I think is phenomenal.
Thank you.
And but to go back to where you were, and don't let go of the forgiveness, and don't forgive yourself, don't forgive others, hold on to all these other things that got you there in the first place, is going to put you back again.
Right.
It's going to put you back. And then you want to blame the doctor, it didn't work.
Yep.
So you can't blame anyone. You got to really take more self control, and not only just that, just know that you got to look deeper within your own self as well. I just want to share this with you, since we kind of said that. There was a patient very quickly here that was going through horrible, I'm not going to go through the whole journey of it.
Mm-hmm.
But when he walked to my office with his wife, I could just see that there was no love there.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt it.
Yeah.
It was just really kind of horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And he had stage 4 liver. And when I asked him a couple of questions, I said, do you feel loved? And he said, no, not really. Not from my wife, no. And so after that, he definitely loved himself. That's why he waited for an appointment and came in. But we started to have prayer, and she didn't even want to touch him. And I said, this is so sad. It's like, why did you marry? I asked him later, well, I'm a minister and I didn't want to fornicate and blah, blah, blah. And so I went ahead and married. She was very pretty, a beautiful woman. I said, well, those things can get you in trouble. So you got to really take on some responsibility yourself for why you did what you did.
That's right.
So with this whole journey of his, once he decided that, I got to get out of this toxic relationship.
Right.
That was extremely toxic. He only had, I think, 4 IVs and some other things we were doing. And there was no way. He went back to the VA and the cancer was gone. Well, in the midst of all that, he said, I want a divorce.
Good.
And when he got it here in his mind, I'm coming out of this toxic relationship that's destroying me. No love. He loved himself, which was important, because some people tell me, no, not really. When I ask you love yourself? They just said, not really. So those questions I always ask my patients in working with them. And I know with you have a loving husband, such an adorable husband.
He's got to see this. I call him Dr. Love in the book.
You do? Okay.
Yeah, because he would administer shots.
Okay.
Because our treatment had a home, so he was part of the treatment. And so eventually I had to give him a name, and I called him Dr. Love.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. And one other thing, thank you so much for bringing that into it.
Yes.
When I hit my lowest part, which was about 4 months into the treatment. So let me explain something, because I really watch this now as a patient advocate with my patients. About 4 months into the treatment, when you're killing the cancer off, you've got this whole metabolic systemic change going on in the body, but you have a lot of dead protein and a lot of dead cancer.
Yes.
And the body, and like you said, liver with this minister, it can't get rid of it fast enough. So literally you're gunked up. And then, of course, you're 4 months into a disease process, like, oh, yeah, real fun. So I actually, we've done motivational work, both you and I always say as a motivational speaker, I can't afford depression. It's not good for business.
I love that.
But it's 4 months into treatment and I'm depressed. I mean, there was no getting around it. And my husband said, honey, I'm taking you to the big island of Hawaii for a week.
How wonderful.
And that was really when I turned a big corner, because that is such a powerful place, obviously, with a volcano that we've all been hearing about lately.
Yes, yes.
It's a powerful place. And it really, the waters, the whole aloha. And I even called Dr. Rubio when I was there, and I said, there's no more active cancer, you know. I said, now remember, I wasn't going to be in remission, but I said, I think I'm in remission. I want free and clear. But I called him.
Free and clear.
I wanted free and clear.
Yes.
And I think he tested, and I was about down to 5%. So it was pretty cool, but it takes a while. You know, it really takes a while.
And to know yourself, I can heal from this.
Yeah.
You have the wonderful treatment and seeing that when you visualize what's happening as well.
Yeah.
Now, I want to ask you, is this a insurance? Do they cover check insurance?
No. So once you're in Mexico, you are paying out of pocket. Which is why, again, I like carrying the word of immunotherapy.
It's here.
Because I just, while I was up here in your beautiful city of Beverly Hills, a gal was helping me out, and one thing led to the next, and she had a couple masses in her breast. So I was already ministering to a gal just at a makeup counter. And I was so happy to be able to say, now there's trials, and now there's places you can go into the States. But if this particular girl, her mother died at 43 from breast cancer, and she had 3 masks, and they were getting ready to do a MRI as well as an ultrasound, because one was a complex mass. And, you know, I just looked at her and said, but if you want to have immunotherapy with somebody who's been practicing it for 33 years, then you do want to come to Rubio Cancer Center, because you want that experience, that breadth of experience. But there's lots of options now for people to weigh, which makes me excited. Yeah.
I'm so glad they do have it here. And if this is a take home, so you can start treatment there.
Yes.
And do you stay there in Mexico?
Yes. So I was at Rubio Cancer Center for 4 weeks.
Okay.
And then I had customized cancer vaccines that I went home with. And then because I live in San Diego, I could just go back in, do a blood draw, and take my home program. It's called a home program.
Okay.
People come from all over the country, and they get their home program, and then they ship it, you know, every month. But there's their customized medicine. You know, there's their customized medicine.
I know. I've had a nice talk with Dr. Rubio.
Yeah.
Very nice person.
And when I went back out to lecture on Treatable and Beatable and go back to the speaking circuit, it was 2008, and people weren't ready to hear about immunotherapy, and Dr. Rubio liked my approach and my message, so he asked me to be a patient advocate. So that's really when I turned cancer into a new career, and have worked with patients now for 11 years.
And the way you work with them, you know, they feel they have hope. That's what I see in my patients. You know, they feel that there's hope. Someone has gone through the storm, weathered the storm.
Well, remember this morning I said you and I are both natural encouragers. Like if they said take all that encouragement and don't do it, you and I would just like fall flat. What do I say?
Yeah.
I want to help people.
Yes. And that's what we do. That's why I produce this show.
And you see the beauty in people. You always say something positive. And that's our role, I think, as health providers, is to see the beauty in the patient or the situation that they're in.
Yeah. You know, when you're a patient yourself, you see things differently.
Yeah, that's right.
You've been a patient. So when you're a patient, you know what that feel like. And when you know what it feel like, you can, when you see that person, you can feel kind of what is going on with them. I'm not going to take it on, but I can help you.
Right.
I can help you. So you could make your journey a little bit smoother, a lot smoother. And that's what you're doing.
Well, and then how is cancer a wake-up call to health?
For you, yes.
Well,
in general.
I think for all the people, that get involved. Remember I said I didn't want to live that victim, like under the umbrella, like, oh, does the umbrella have a hole on it? And did a cancer cell, leak through kind of thing. And so I think the reason I got involved as a patient advocate is I wanted, first of all, I wanted to selfishly continue to be proactive with my health.
Yes. Yes.
And how can I do that? Well, if I'm a patient advocate, I have to continue to get educated, be at all these conferences that Dr. Lee and I are at, hear all these experts, and then put together my regimen, my self-care regimen.
Yes.
So, you know, you and I, we get to be so healthy all these years later after a cancer experience because of just self-care.
Oh, yeah, self-care. And believe me, I give my own IVs, usually because I have no one around to start my own. I know that sounds kind of bad, but I feel comfortable with me sticking me. So to give my
You
own.
are a nurse.
No, I'm a nurse and nurse practitioner.
Right.
And, yeah, the
Yeah.
whole. And so even though that, a lot of people don't do IVs well.
Right.
But I'm just grateful that through my training, that was one part of my training I used to love to do, and other things too, especially as, you know, going through Charles Drew Medical School as a physician assistant as well.
Fantastic.
So combining all of that training along with the Ph.D. In integrated function. But as you know, seminars and workshops, and I was just telling someone I probably have over 30,000 hours of advancement in medicine, workshops and seminars from genetic medicine and genetic testing. Let me just ask you, are you aware of this new genetic testing that they're doing now for cancer?
Besides BRCA1 and BRCA2?
No, it's different.
Yeah. Well, the thing about BRCA1 and BRCA2 is, and genetic testing, so I'll actually talk about this, is when Dr. Rubio asked me to come on staff as a patient advocate, I published his research in Breaking the Cancer Code.
Okay.
Okay? I'm just going to put a statistic in here because you're bringing up the genes.
Yes.
His research is that 27% of if a person gets cancer or not is the genes.
Okay.
Now, a lot. Have you seen more?
I have a little bit higher.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not the qualified expert to comment who's right on that and who's wrong. And the other thing is, I already said from my story that I had it on both bloodlines, and I was doing all the self-care practices. So this was also why I had to go to something a little more scientific, if you will, and I call it serious.
Yes.
Because you have a lot of people who think they can take a certain supplement and do some carrot juice and do some fasting and think that they can get rid of cancer cells. And my experience is once the cells have mutated, they don't go back to a healthy cell. They have to be destroyed. And, of course, those health regimens are going to help the healthy cells stay healthy, right? But so talk about the genetic testing. I don't want to interrupt on that, but I just wanted to say in terms of a cancer diagnosis, I think he doesn't want people living in fear.
No.
When it runs all over their family, because we've even had a conversation about that in the studio this morning. So we're not supposed to be all over fear because our aunts had it, our dad had it, or whatever. It's 27%.
This is why we look at epigenetics.
Okay.
Okay, epigenetics come in where you don't have to have the diseases that your family had.
Right.
And that goes for the cancer, and it's in your genes. It's in my genes for a lot of things, and
Right.
I don't have. And my daughter thought that, oh, your father died at 65, and when you turn 65, are you going to? I said, no, my grandfather lived to be 100, so I'm going to follow him.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
I'm
100,
choosing
100
here.
plus.
I'm choosing here. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is my choice. So, but epigenetics, so I'm not going to have the lifestyle. I'm going to change the diet. I'm going to
Right.
exercise. I'm going to do this. And when you do that, you don't have to have those problems. So genetics and genes, what can you do about that?
Well, I'm all about
It can be changed. We know that.
I'm all about the epigenetics, and I think it's right in alignment with the psychoneuroimmunology because
They will go hand in hand.
the emotional health and what's in the mind, and then what you're saying is all the lifestyle. And I will throw in the biofield again, because when you were talking about the minister and that loveless marriage, that meant that when he went home at night, when he should have gone home to a safe place to be nurtured, especially if he was a minister, going out and saving lives.
Exactly.
And it happens.
All the time.
It happens because people are having their human experience,
Yes,
even if
they
they
are.
have a divine appointment.
Mm-hmm.
And
Don't we all?
you didn't tell me to repeat that one.
Repeat it.
People are having
With
their
a
human
human
experience, even if they have a divine appointment.
And that happens all the time. I have seen it.
Pretty much every day.
Mm-hmm.
But the psychoneuroimmunology, and that's why I think I have elected to work with the patients, was I want to see how strong can I make my muscle.
Yeah.
And I want to make a comment here for everyone listening, for both patients and family and friends of patients. So it's been 15 years since I've been out of the woods, as I like to call it.
15. What a blessing.
And what's interesting is if people know that story in my life, what happens if they haven't seen me in a while, they'll look at me and they go, "Are you okay?" And I'll be like, "Am I okay? I mean, are you sick?" I'm like, "No." And they'll look at me as if they're looking for cancer. And I'll be like, "Nada aquí.
I know.
No cancer here."
Right.
And I think what's interesting is in the psychoneuroimmunology is thinking yourself to where you want to be. We were talking about,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So we have to employ those friends and our family around us to continue seeing us well and seeing us healthy.
Exactly. I have produced written a book,
Yes.
which is an audiobook written before I was born.
Okay.
But I'm not going to get into that. But there is a part 2 or an extra tape
Okay.
CD to the book. And it's a meditation, guided meditation,
Yes.
entitled Detox Your Mind and Your Body Will Heal.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I've been into the whole psychoneurology, immunology for years because I can see, you'll see what's happening.
Yeah.
And in dealing with this for I've been a practitioner for over 30-some years,
Right.
from hospitals to clinics to you name it, and to see all types of conditions from A to Z,
Yes.
and you have to bring that in. That has to be part of the picture. So at New Wellness Healthcare Clinic, this is what I do.
Wonderful.
I'm dealing with the whole body, the whole
Wonderful.
person, the nutrition. And my daughter has her master's degree as a clinical nutritionist. So we just, mine is holistic, on the holistic side, and the medical side, pulling it all together. Putting it all together with the nutrition, the lab tests, functional blood testing. So we look at everything, the whole person walking in that door. I watch how you walk in the door, because how
That's
you
right.
walk, your
Right.
body language can
Right.
tell me a lot.
Your
just
vibrancy,
walking in.
your frequency.
And I hug. When we walk in, let's do this heart-to-heart hug. Everybody know me for my heart-to-heart hug. And we're going to do that. So let's sit down. We break that ice.
Yeah.
And I don't like sitting at a desk anymore. So I used to sit at a desk
Right.
in an office. Now they're in a recliner chair,
Nice.
sitting on a beamer,
Nice.
as long as they qualify for it.
Right.
And they're sitting there and they're relaxed. And I'm sitting very close to them and we're talking. We have an intimate relationship talking.
Beautiful.
So that you can just tell me what's going on. Tell me what you're feeling. And we're not afraid. Sometimes I tell people, before we start talking about your care, we're just going to pray.
And what's interesting is at Rubio Cancer Center, the hospital's built around a pool. So,
Nice. Water.
it's a 10-suite facility, and then it has an annex for people that come with family and larger groups. But the water, the garden, the cabanas for people to, like the ones you rent in Vegas, baby.
Yes.
You don't have to rent these. As long as you're a patient, you can have a cabana for free.
Oh, how nice.
But it's nice because it gets people outdoors, and then,
Ooh,
between
go.
the detox protocols, and often the doctor will talk to the patient by the pool. So it's more like a retreat environment rather than, those backless gowns and that clinical,
Oh, gosh.
powerlessness. I even
Like
tell
the
people,
hospital, so sterile.
dress like you're going to a spa week,
Yeah.
casual, but feel good about yourself,
great.
If you got cancer, put your makeup on, girl. You know,
And make sure it has no chemicals.
there you
No roadkill lipstick, okay? And you can't do that.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure it's all natural makeup because
Yes.
we can look beautiful.
Thank you.
We can wear the makeup, but we do not want the chemicals.
No, that's good.
So make sure that you check into chemical. Anything over the counter, usually it has chemicals. So check
And I'm
into
more
it.
speaking to be who you are, healthy,
Yes.
while you're in the treatment. So
Yes.
if you wear makeup or you fancy up your hair, I like to say fluff it up. Fluff it up, you know, so that you feel as much as you can like yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to be happy.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you like 30 seconds. What would you tell someone who was just recently diagnosed? I want you to look into their eyes, look into the camera.
Yes.
What would you tell them? And before you tell them, I want to let people know you can share this show on my YouTube channel, New Wellness TV with Dr. Lee, and see it. And those who are listening can go to UBN to listen to the show and iTunes and different places, because some people are just going to listen. They won't be able to see. But I want you to look into the camera, into their eyes.
Yes.
And what would you tell that person? Don't look into my eyes.
Honey,
Look
you've
into-
trained me for this. I'm waiting for you to stop talking so I can look into their eyes.
Okay.
Hello, eyes. Here I come.
Okay.
I guess for me, I want to take any adversity in my life, and especially when cancer presented in my life as an adversity, and I want to turn it into an advantage. I don't like this idea that something's going to happen that's going to just destroy my spirit, destroy my vibrancy, destroy my purpose for living. I want to take anything, if it's a negative gossip that's been put out or somebody being rude to me, I want to turn that into some type of an advantage for me. If it's a diagnosis, how can I grow from this? What I said earlier was I live a disciplined life more than ever today because of my cancer experience, which means I'm already on an anti-aging track, and it was cancer that got me there. So don't I get to bless cancer? Yay! So things that people started to do in their 50s, or even sometimes people get into health earlier, I got to really realign with that at a serious level. I do take supplements for my immune system because I know that the cold or the flu can spark a mutating cell. So I try not to expose myself to people that are sick. And I also hydrate and eat healthy. But all of that I credit to finding the advantage in my diagnosis when it came. And I just invite people to find the advantage in your adversity, you know.
Beautiful. Well put. And I thank you for that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I'd like to just add that was yours, and you look into the eyes and make sure you're getting quality sleep.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Quality sleep is so important.
You even said that in the text last night. She told me to sleep well. I thought, okay.
Yes.
So all you listeners out there, you sleep well tonight. That's from Dr. Lee.
Sleep is important. That's also your anti-aging.
Yes.
Is your sleep.
It is.
So if you want to heal, you must sleep less than 5 hours a night. We already know cardiovascular diseases.
Right.
Disease. So we want to sleep so the body can do its job and work on your healing. So rest.
So there we are. We're in the sympathetic. We have two functions in the central nervous system, sympathetic and parasympathetic.
Under the autonomic.
And with the digital lives now, where we're constantly interrupted, we're more keyed up. Our nervous system is more keyed up. So what you're saying, Dr. Lee, about sleep, rest, or chill, you know, it can just be relaxing too.
There's a CBD product called Chill.
Okay.
I like that name. Chill.
There you go.
Just chill.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you get to spark that parasympathetic. So sympathetic is when we're keyed up. And I like to say it's because our central nervous system feels sorry for us. Sympathetic. Get it? It's keyed up.
It's keyed up.
Parasympathetic is when it restores. So I love that
I like
work.
that.
I
And
love that.
I just want to say that I do attest where I can test the cardiovascular and the autonomic nervous system. There's a 3-minute test.
Nice.
And what I tell people who shows on the sympathetic, I said, you're stepping on the gas and you never stepped on the brakes.
Oh, good.
You just
Beautiful.
went fast.
Beautiful.
And you never stepped on the brakes. And a lot of people said, that's me. I just don't stop. Well, that's that sympathetic. And you
Right.
drive that cortisol level up.
Right.
It's going to lead to sleep problems, hair loss, cancer, diabetes, osteo. It leads to a whole myriad of diseases. So take time for you. Take time for you.
We're like a duet.
Yes.
We say so.
I do so much testing.
Similar,
Yeah.
such similar
And
messages.
so many treatment plans, and just to see the outcome, do the lab
Yeah.
work. We see the results in the
Yes.
lab, which is amazing. So I am just so happy, and I brought something to your attention on the way here. So hopefully in April,
Yes.
April 19th
Yes.
through the 20th in Las
Yes.
Vegas, I'm going to be speaking to my friend that you're going to be there, so people come and see you as well.
Awesome. Thank
But
you.
because the panel is going to be on stem cell and rejuvenative care and the care for cancer and the care for anti-aging and longevity.
Beautiful.
You know, it's all go hand in hand.
Beautiful.
You know,
Yeah.
healthy mind, healthy body.
That's it.
Healthy
That's
mind,
why we're
healthy
here.
body. That's why we're here. And I just want to say, I think I'm out of time. Yes, Tony is nodding his head that I'm out of time. So I just want to say, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. I want to thank my guests for traveling for miles
That's
to
it.
be here live in the studio. I said, we can't Zoom you in. You have to be here live. So she did, and I'm so happy for Carolyn. I always want to say Dr. Carolyn Gross.
I get called doctor a lot.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you.
You know, I just want to thank you for what you're doing and
Thank
being such a patient advocate, but a loving patient advocate. So that's wonderful.
Thank you,
I
Dr.
thank
Lee.
you so much. Thank you again for being here.
Awesome.
And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And as I always end my show, and why do I end my show this way? Because you'll see me next week because I'm grateful. No, it is true, though. But repeat after me. I am so grateful
So grateful
that I am
that I am
a magnet
a magnet.
for miracles. Take this into yourself as being I am. I know I am. You have to feel that you are too. So when you say it, feel it. I am to yourself. Have a wonderful, blessed day.
Join us every Wednesday live at 11 a.m. for New Wellness TV with Dr. Lee. Remember, healthy mind, healthy body.